So you want to get your driver's license in Sweden. Maybe you're preparing for it, or maybe you want to start to prepare but you don't know where to start. In this video I'm going to tell you everything about getting a Swedish driver's license. If you already have a driver's license in another country, first thing that you're going to do is check if you need to get a driver's license in Sweden, a new one from scratch, or if you can just convert your existing driver's license into the Swedish one and without any exam or preparation just get your driver's license here. To do so, you will go to transportstyrelsen.se to check if you can just convert or not. The second step will be getting your driver's license permit. This is mandatory and it means you are permitted and allowed to prepare and get your driver's license in Sweden. So to do so, again, you will go to Transportstyrelsen website, the same website, and you will fill in some forms about your disease and your history, and you will also do something about your eyes. So you're gonna go to some of the eye test optician clinics where you're going to have your eyes tested and to see if you're eligible to drive just like that naturally, or if you need some support like contact lenses or glasses when driving. This is also a mandatory step in this permit getting process. I did my eye test in Specsavers because they had the cheapest option. I think maybe it was free, but I think I paid around 100 crowns. After filling in the form and getting the eye examination results, and those eye examination results are sent directly to Transportstyrelsen, so you don't need to do anything there. You will get a permit that now you can prepare and get your driver's license in Sweden. The next step for me was doing something called Introductory course or education. This is not mandatory, but you need to do this education if someone in your family or in your friend circle or in your relatives, someone is going to be your informal supervisor, like a family supervisor, sitting next to you and driving the car. You are driving the car and practicing whatever you learned, you remember from somewhere. Maybe you have a driver's license from another country, but you're just getting used to the Swedish way of driving. Or maybe you're taking lessons, practice lessons with a traffic school, like driving school, but you just want to put those things into practice and you just need someone next to you while you're driving in the city. So if you've seen cars in the city saying with green, mostly it's green, but it could be red as well, but maybe red ones are more like signaling that it's a driving school car, but mostly I've seen green ones. If you see a green sign on the back of your a car or on top of a car saying in Swedish övningsköra or övningsköra, it means there's a student driving the car and there's a supervisor sitting next to him or her. To be able to do so, both of you and your supervisor need to attend this introduction course where they're teaching you in 3.5 hours how to be a good student and a good supervisor. How is it like to teach something, how to not to stress, and I don't know, like everything that you need to consider as a supervisor and as a student. Also all the risks that you need to consider, that both of you need to be sober, that both of you need to be well rested and plan your whole practice driving ahead, etc. So for me, my supervisor was gonna be my boyfriend, so we both attended that course and we together paid 150 crowns. Did we pay together or did we pay separately? That I don't remember, but the whole training was like 3.5 hours including the break, and we did it at Nacka Trafikskola. So this is or en trafikskola. So this is a traffic school or driving school in Nacka. Unfortunately, I don't remember the teacher's name, but he was really friendly. The whole course was in Swedish, I need to say, but my understanding in Swedish is really good. I mean, my speaking is also really good now, so it wasn't no problem for me. So make sure when you're booking in the language that you feel most comfortable with. Or about, what is that? Then the next step for me, so this whole process started a year ago, like last year, March or so, 2025 March. Back then I created a vision board around Novruz. Novruz is Persian New Year, so that I'm also celebrating. So there I even had my getting the driver's license, the whole thing as a vision, as a goal. There I started this whole process. I started learning theory starting then as well, but not intensively, not regularly, not systematically. So whenever I had a chance, I would open the app. The app is called Trafico. I think I paid 200 or 250 one-time fee to access all the questions and lessons. It's a very comprehensive app. I highly recommend it. In that app, you can see the PDF textbook or small lessons where the textbook is divided into small lessons, and then each lesson has its own questions. You can also go to the question section and then practice and test your knowledge, how much you know. You need to pass 80% of the questions. You need to have correct answers. In the beginning, I was doing 65, 70, 75, sometimes 80, sometimes 85, because I have my driver's license in Georgia. A lot of things were very similar, but what I noticed is in Sweden, there are like topics that I had never heard about in Georgia when I was preparing for my driver's license there. So there mostly we focus on traffic signs and traffic rules and mostly, navigating, but nothing about, trailers, lights, weights, security checks in the car, some statistics about car and traffic and roads, braking distance, reaction distance, stopping distance, to calculate them, how you calculate them. These things were very different from Georgia, and those were the topics actually that were annoying me. I had to put extra focus on them, but around that time it felt impossible that I would ever be able to learn these topics because they were so different, and I felt like it was unnecessary, because how often was I gonna attach a trailer to my car and drive, and then consider the width of the car, the length of the car, and then the weight and the curb weight and total weight, the gross weight, things like that. It seemed to be unnecessary, but of course I understand the importance of those topics as well. But when you're overwhelmed in the beginning of something, it looks very like endless and impossible. I learned them, but I was learning, as I said, like on and off, because I didn't have maybe self-discipline when it comes to driver's license, because as I said, it looked impossible. I heard a lot of horror stories about like people failing the driving part so many times that their theory results would expire, because when you pass the theory exam, then you have 4 months to do the driving test as well, because only for 4 months those theory tests results are valid. It might happen that you fail so many times your driving test that your theory test expires. So I was feeling hopeless, basically, I would say. Since I'm also an old school person, the next step for me was to also do something with my hands and an actual book and textbook. So I ordered a Körkort online textbook. It was really affordable, 99 crowns. Maybe I ordered it secondhand. No, but it was really new, so I don't remember. I ordered, I think, from Tradera. You can check it. It's a very comprehensive textbook. It is very thick, but don't let it scare you, because most of it is just pictures and tests, and so it's not a lot of text, and the width of it shouldn't scare you. And I really like the textbook, and especially if you're an old school person like me who likes to see the textbook, change the pages and highlight things and write some comments next to it, then that would be perfect for you. So this year, around February, I think, that I did my Risk 1 training. This is the next step. It's a mandatory step to do Risk 1 training. It's a training basically teaching you theoretically what are the risks while you're driving. So it could be fatigue, alcohol, the speed of your car, most importantly, being under the influence of some drugs, being under peer pressure. Your friends might be teasing or making you perform things, and you then get the feeling that you need to impress them. So all those things, but mostly theoretically. And I remember only theoretically. And I remember at the end of the session, they also showed us a video, a very scary video, I would say, where a police was talking about a very bad accident, that there was a guy at a party who felt jealous that her girlfriend was flirting with another guy, and then he left the party drunk and angry, so he was driving with a very high speed, and then he got into a car accident and he lost his life. So, and then I was like, oh my god, I need to reconsider, do I really want a driver's license? But that's the purpose of that video, the whole training, to show that this is a serious business. Are you ready? Are you mentally, physically ready to drive driving is a very dangerous and serious thing you might be doing with your life, I would say. I booked this Risk1 training through Trafico app as well. I think it was somewhere in Liljeholmen or somewhere that I attended the physical session. I paid 500 crowns, 499, and it was around 5 hours, I would say, but including the break and everything, of course. So now, next step is Risk 2 training. This is also a mandatory step. Risk 2 training is mostly about what you heard in Risk 1, experiencing it in Risk 2, like Risk 2 training. I paid around 1,899, so 1,900 crowns, but I think because I booked Risk 1 and Risk 2 together, I had like a 100 crown discount or something. I don't remember how much it was. Also booked through Trafico, and a minibus picked us up from Liljeholmen station or somewhere there near a cafe, and they drove us to Gnesta Halkbana, so Gnesta slippery something, basically. I don't know how to translate that. Just, yeah, the place where you're actually driving the car. So this whole session started with a little bit of theory also. They explained what we're gonna do and also what you need to be careful about. For example, they explained that, and we also did that as well. So we were sitting 5 people in the same car, including the instructor. And all 4 of us drove. And so someone was driving and causing that dangerous situation, and others were experiencing that dangerous situation. That was the idea. So we experienced both ways in the car, as drivers and as passengers. So the idea was that we would drive first on a normal paved road, dry road, at a certain speed, and then we would brake harshly because we're avoiding some danger, and then we would see after I stopped braking, I started braking until it completely stopped the car, how much distance I went. So that is called your braking distance, right? And then this was the time I was like, okay, now this makes sense, because before I was theoretically learning only about braking distance, stopping distance, reaction distance. And then we stopped, and we would at the side of the road there were like poles indicating the distance, so we would see how much the car went after I started braking and it fully stopped. So what was that distance? And then we did the same on a slippery, icy road, like next to that road. And then there we could see that it goes much further, the car. And then especially if you try to steer while your car is flying, even though you are fully braking it, you could see how the car is spinning like 360. And that was also a very, I would say, scary moment. So that was Risk 2. So experiencing those things, the speed, road conditions, and your attention, your focus, your speed. I think I said that, but speed. I think speed is very important. You could handle any situation, I would say, if you're driving slowly. My sister actually shared something recently with me. She lives in Georgia, and she was driving, and she said her tire on the car while she was driving just exploded, and she had to stop the car. And I'm like, were you driving slowly? And she said, yes, if I wasn't, probably something dramatic would have happened. And I agree, any situation could be under control if you're driving slowly, within the speed limit, and even slowly. I mean, sometimes speed limit is there as a reference, you should be also attentive to the road conditions. Maybe there is a poor visibility, maybe there are a lot of people right now, a lot of cars. I mean, being adaptable and flexible is very important to avoid dangerous situations while driving. So next step for me was to think a bit about my driving abilities, because I was done with Risk 1, Risk 2. I've been doing some theory for a while, and back then I was getting like 75, 80, 85, sometimes 90% correct answers. So I was like, let me test how well I know to drive in the Swedish environment. So I booked a lesson through Trafico. I paid 600 crowns for 80 minutes, and I think I had that low price because I was booking a driving lesson for the first time, so it was app's benefit or goodwill for me. So I booked it, and there was a lady helping me, and in that lesson I learned so much. She was like, I'm driving completely wrong, I would say. That's what I found out in Sweden. So you need to first when you're changing the lanes, for example, or turning, or doing something different that you've been doing so far, especially changing lanes. First you check your back mirror, then side mirror. If you're turning left, then left side mirror, and then your blind spot, and then you're indicating, blinking, and then you're checking the same things again. Back mirror, side mirror, blind spot, and then you're changing the lane. This was so different. I learned it there. And the second thing I learned was that every time you are braking, before braking, you're checking the back mirror. Then every time you're gassing, then you're checking the back mirror again, because you need to know what's going on. Maybe you shouldn't brake right now because there's a car right next to you, or right at your back, very close. That thing. And also, back mirror is very important. You should be checking it every few seconds, actually. So every 3 to 4 seconds, 5 seconds, just look back, just see what's going on. Is everything all right? Can you drive further? Things like that I learned. And I also realized that I don't know how to reverse park in between cars. So a lot of things. And she was like, yeah, you will be ready in a few months. And she was right. Then I was like, okay, let me first finish the theory part. Looks like there's a lot to do with in practice as well. I don't know the Swedish way of driving. I had met one girl in Riskettan training, the theory, you remember? Then I had met another girl in Riskettan training. She was in my car, in the same car when we were doing the practice thingies. So I had met 2 girls, and I'm like, oh my god, these 2 girls, me, and there's one more girl, my friend, who's also trying to get her driver's license. How about I form a group, and then we study together as a study group? So that was the next non-mandatory step for me. I formed a group. I'm a people person. Wherever I go, I try to connect people, try to do something together. So that's what I did here, my superpower, you know? And I'm also very good when I feel accountable to someone else, and then we have a system and we meet up, and I kind of feel responsible. So we met up regularly once a week, and in total I think we did like 3-4 times, and then there was Easter and everything, so we had a break, but overall we were very regular, very disciplined. So I came up with an idea that the study should be this way, like interactive. So we would gather, and everybody would have their own textbook, digital version, hard copy, and we would just read one chapter, different chapters, each person, and then like half an hour or so. And then when you're done with the chapter, you would tell your group mates about the chapter. So you will just say everything that you read, explain to them. So because the best way, I think, is for learning is teaching. So we would teach each other and then ask questions about the chapter that we just taught to them, and they would answer. So this way we would learn our chapter even better, and then we would listen to 3 more chapters, because others would be telling as well. So one go, we would be done with 4 chapters. Just like that, we finished 12, 20 chapters. And those were the ones that I was struggling with mostly, because I decided to tackle the chapters that I'm struggling with most. That went well. Then I felt like, well, most of the time I'm getting 100% results, and sometimes 90, 95, 85. This is really good, but most of the time it's above 90. But I'm still not feeling ready. My boyfriend pushed me. He was like, you will never feel ready. If you're good enough, then you should do it. You shouldn't wait for being perfect. He's my life coach. He's my therapist. Just like everywhere else in my life, in all other aspects, here as well, he believed in me more than I do believe in myself. One day I just spontaneously booked the theory test. So it was like happening next day or next week, something very, very soon. I paid 420 crowns when I was booking on Trafikverket, and then when I was there at the place, I paid 120 around, I think, for the picture. I took a picture of myself in some machine for the license. And then I entered the room, I did the test. It was in English because I had chosen in English. You can choose any language you want. So many languages, I don't remember, Arabic, Russian, Italian. In all the languages you could choose. I stayed there until the end because I need to make sure everything was correct. And then at the end, when I clicked submit, I got passed on the screen. And then when I left the place, I got an email with a more detailed information that, these were the mistakes, but how many mistakes I made out of how many questions. So you get 75 questions, out of which only 65 count as questions. I don't know, those 10 are tests or some. I don't really know why those 10 exist there. So out of 65, you need to pass 80%, whatever that number is. I did more than that. I don't remember right now, but 5-7 mistakes, something like that I passed basically. And they also told me in which category I think I need to focus more. Even though I passed, they're still giving me tips where I need to focus. Then I'm like, I'm done with the theory part. What is left is the driving part, right? Driving test itself. Then I learned that before driving, in the actual driving test, they might do so-called security check. Like they might ask you to check if things are all right in the car, internally and externally. You could be checking externally the lights, tires, if all the lights are working, and you need to know which light is which light, or you need to know on the signs, and when you go out to check if those lights are working, you need to know where those lights are on the car. That was like, I'm failing there. Before driving, I'm gonna fail in the lights. I don't know. Okay, blinking I know because it's blinking, but I don't know where the fog light is, where the main beam I could also know. Okay, it's a very strong and far one. Main beam lights or main headlights, but how do I know the rest? But I recommend you go to YouTube, you check Trafico's security check video. It's a very comprehensive, very detailed, very nice, pleasant video where I learned all those things. And a few times in the car we checked those things to just practice, so I don't waste time with the teacher, because with the teacher I just wanted to focus on the road. Now the next part is the teacher part. I booked my lessons at Nacka Trafikskola, Trafikskola it's called, so the traffic driving school in Nacka, that's called Nacka Driving School. Basically so many details about the name. And my teacher was Therese. I recommend her to everyone. The nicest, calmest, actual teacher that you should be looking for. Very comprehensive in her explanations, very good comments. Even though I was making mistakes, she would find the best way to explain without scaring me, especially I'm driving, So I had 3 practical lessons with her. In total, I paid 3,600 in those lessons. Now I'm doubting myself, was it 3 lessons or 4 lessons? I don't remember, because I remember one lesson I had one day, and the next day I had 2 lessons. So I think it was 3 in total, unless I had one more where she was just testing me how my driving is. So it could have been 4. So 3 or 4. And we were rushing and having 2 lessons in one day because my driving test was next week. I had to be prepared, and then some holiday was coming. Yeah, Valborg holiday was coming. That Friday would be off, I think. So that's why Thursday we had like 2 lessons. And we were driving on the highway, on country roads, on inner streets, different situations. We were crossing the railways. Again, we were focusing on blind spot, checking back mirror. Her comment was that I'm a very calm driver with experience, but the Swedish way is a bit different, where you need to use your core, a lot of core, when you're turning back, reversing, you need to look back physically. In Georgia, we're taught it in a different way, that you don't need to physically turn your body because mirrors exist for that reason, that purpose. You should be using the mirrors to look back. But I understand the Swedish way as well, because sometimes you don't see everything in the mirror. Well, because the Georgian way is that when you look back with your body, like physically, then you're missing what's going on in front of you. I don't know, but we're in Sweden, so I decided to learn the Swedish way. So that we were focusing on. We were focusing on a lot of times blind spot, turning, changing lanes, blind spot, all the time blind spot, blinking. How blinking is important, that you don't do it too early, then you're panicking the bicyclist next to you because you're not even ready. You're gonna let the bicyclist pass anyway, so why are you blinking, because then you're just panicking that guy or girl riding the bicycle. So like those timings, like I was like, oh my god, I need to be perfect, so I'm not gonna be perfect, I'm gonna fail. So much self-doubt. My next step was booking my practice driving test, and I booked it on Trafikverket again. I paid 1,800 crowns to book it, and all the spots in Stockholm were booked in the coming months. So I really needed my driver's license now, and I'm like, what if time passes and then my theory test expires, theory test results expire, and then I need to do it again? No, I'm doing it right now. So I booked it in Skövde, and then in my mind, when I looked at the map, Skövde was really close. Only recently, like 2 days ago, even though I got my driver's license over a month ago, 2 days ago, I'm checking where Skövde is. It's almost like closer to Gothenburg than Stockholm. It was apparently very far, but I had taken snabbtåg, like the fast train, and it took me like 2 hours. And I'm like, oh yeah, it must have been like near Uppsala, but it was almost near Gothenburg. So I went to Skövde. Skövde was the only place that had times. But before that step, I don't know Skövde. I've never been there. I don't know how the streets are there. My genius mind thought I need to book a lesson prior my driving test on the same day through a traffic school in Skövde. I found one, I booked it, so I paid 800 crowns for a 1 hour lesson. So I think, is it cheaper than Stockholm? Yeah, maybe. I went there. The traffic school was called Fästningens Trafikskola. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Fästningens Trafikskola. And the teacher was Marcus, really good teacher again. He basically took me to all the roads where the instructor in the test takes you. Well, he was guessing, obviously, you never know where the car goes or where the car will go specifically with you, on that day. And then most importantly, what he explained was one thing, that Skövde is a smaller town compared to Stockholm. So there are not a lot of traffic is not a lot of traffic compared to Stockholm. So people in Skövde might be less considerate, but not in a negative way. More like, well, nothing's gonna happen. We're a small town, So they could be driving more like secure, like nothing's gonna happen. And one example, it doesn't mean like they're speeding or anything. More like when they're leaving the roundabout, they're exiting the roundabout, they might not blink right. Because they're like, you can guess. We're like 3 cars here only. You can guess that I'm leaving, Things like that. So you need to be careful. Not everybody all the time indicates and shows, and things might be happening last minute. So this is different from Stockholm, where you are more like planning ahead and letting everyone know about everything you're gonna do, and you're doing it more considerately. A lot of times that was true, like people leaving the roundabout, they were not blinking, indicating. So I was just waiting there, trying to enter the roundabout, thinking they're gonna go towards me, but they're just exiting the roundabout before even approaching me. So that was different. Another thing in Skövde, what was different is that whenever you're leaving the roundabout, exiting the roundabout, a lot of times don't try to take the furthest right, because the right will always connect to the left. So when you're exiting, stay in the left lane, because then you will have to deal. Otherwise, if you're in the right lane, you will have to deal with exiting. Changing the lanes to the left, because your road is disappearing, your lane is disappearing. He told me to stay on the left lane, so this is another specification about Skövde, right? Good to learn it. These things, I don't think they happen in Stockholm. That's one. Another thing, a lot of times, because of the construction, there are like so many construction sites in Skövde. So a lot of times, because of those construction sites, the speed limit was 30. And there might have been a temporary pedestrian cross, and there is no zebra, no lines on the road, but there is a sign. So if you're used to looking on the ground on those zebra signs, you might miss the signs where you need to be careful. And then it was the actual test, the final step. So as I said, I booked it on Trafikverket, 1,800 crowns I paid. I went there after the lesson with Marcus. He drove me actually I drove myself with him to the station where the test was gonna start, Trafikverket office. I sat down there. I think I was there like 2 hours ahead, and I was feeling so nervous, like extremely nervous. I used the toilet 2 or 3 times at least. And then I was sitting there waiting. I'm like, I'm definitely failing, right? I don't feel my body, like I feel so nervous. And then all of a sudden there's a woman entering the room. She shakes my hand and says her name is Jeanette. I remember, because she was an angel sent for me to be able to pass that test. So she was so friendly, so nice. She explained everything. She said, this is a new car, a new style. Maybe you haven't driven anything like this. And I said, no, I've been driving a very old school car. So this was like almost like a computer, like a spaceship or something, very, very upgraded model. Everything was a button. There is no handbrake. There is no, I don't know, everything was like digital almost. Volvo something final model. And then she was like, okay, then I will explain, this is the light, this is the that, She explained everything, and then she was like, how's the temperature? He said. I'm like, It's very good actually. And I have no idea how the temperature is. What if it's too warm and then I need to change it? Then I don't know how to change it. This car is so different. I don't want to show that I don't know and something, you know? So I just said, yeah, everything is great. I have no idea how the temperature is. And then she was like, okay, we're gonna do some security check now. I want you to check if the brake is working. So I drove forward and then I braked rapidly. I asked her before, are you ready? Because when you brake like that, the person needs to be ready, right, next to you. Well, you can not always prepare someone next to you, but in that case I could. So I'm like, are you ready? So I braked and then I'm like, yeah, it is working. She's like, yeah, it is working. I drove back to the parking spot and then she was like, I want you to check the windshield wipers, both front and back, and then the water as well. So I checked all of them. They worked. Even though it was so complicated in that car, those things you learn in that Trafico YouTube video that I talked about, those things like how to check the windshield wiper, the lights, the brake, you know, just check that video, it's amazing. And then we started driving and then she says we left the Trafikverket, you know, parking lot, and then we're going out to the real world to drive. And then she's like, yeah, go right. Now, first she's just giving directions. Go right, go left, as long as we're exiting the place and going to some real road now, right? And then she's like, okay, now Nermina, first she asked me if the music is okay. I said, no, maybe we skip it because I really want to focus on you, what you're saying. I want to be able to hear everything. By the way, in the beginning, she said, oh, you speak English. Good that my English is okay, or something like that. So she meant she would be able to communicate with me in English, even though she was Swedish. And then she was like, would you like me to talk? Well, I'm already in the street driving. And then she asked me, do you want to talk or do you want me to be quiet? I said, no, let's talk. Actually, I feel good. Because we had been speaking for a few minutes while I was driving, and then it felt really good. I felt like I was with a friend and it wasn't really a test. So we drove and then she said, okay, now go towards Maria Fred. And then I see Maria Fred, okay. First it's straight ahead. So I drive straight ahead and then next, apparently Maria Fred says it's a highway towards right. I'm like, and I'm on the left lane. I should have taken the right lane. And I'm like, oh no, I missed it. But I didn't panic. That's the most important thing. I said, I missed it. I will go ahead and I will turn around and come back. And she said, yeah, it's okay. You can do that. But how about you turn right here on the roundabout? So instead of going ahead, passing the roundabout, I could enter the roundabout, go around the roundabout, make a circle, and then go to the right, you know, from my side. And then from the roundabout, I could have just gone straight. And that's Maria Fred's side. I did not fail. You know why? Because I acknowledged that I made a mistake. It's not really a mistake. I mean, I didn't hurt anyone. It's just I missed something. I missed the path. I missed the sign. So as long as you acknowledge that you saw the sign, but you missed it, it was a bit too late, and you didn't create any dangerous situation, because as soon as I saw the sign, I could have turned right, panicking, causing a dangerous situation in the right lane or behind me, but I didn't do that. That's the most important part, that you missed something, but you also know that now you should stay calm and you should not create any dangerous situation. And that's what I did, and that's, I think, what she liked as well, and that's usually what is advised. You might miss something, say it out loud, but stay calm, don't create any dangerous situations. So I passed and I did that, went to Maria Fred. It was a highway, 110 kilometers speed. I drove that high, and then she said, now exit, use this exit to exit the highway. I did, and then we went over the bridge, and then we came back, and then when we were on the roundabout, I remembered my teacher Marcus's words that after the roundabout, stay on the left lane, because if you're on the right, you're going to change to the left anyway. Your road is disappearing. And then I stayed in the left, and it worked as well. The right one was joining us. And then she took me to some parking lot, and she said, just park next to any car in any way you want. So I just front parked next to a car, to the left of a car, and then I parked there. And then she said, tell me when you're done parking, because she needs to see that you will put the gear in the parking P, I was driving automatic, and then you would also lift the handbrake. And since I'm used to the manual handbrake, there is no button in the old school car that I was driving, I missed it. So I put it gear in the P, and then I said I'm done. But then she was like, how about the handbrake? I said, oh my god, I'm so used to, but there is no. And she was like, it's just a button, just lift it up. She didn't fail me there either, because I mean, it's a new car, and then people understand that we have some muscle memories, right? So we just follow those things. So for me, like, there was, because I'm so used to using handbrakes, even when there are situations that I don't need it, I'm using it everywhere. But for some reason there, it just didn't come to me, like, I don't know. And then she was like, okay, just let's leave this place. When I was leaving, now I remember my boyfriend's words, like, use your core, turn back, physically, check it. I'm like, oh my god, you need to do this, right? I'm so open. I'm talking about this with Jeanette, the instructor. I'm like, you need to do that. Like, I'm thinking I'm doing something good. And she was like, actually not. This car is so much equipped with lots of cameras and sensors that if you're like just a little bit close to something, the car will sense and will make you stop. And I was very happy that, okay, no, not that much like hyper vigilant movements are needed, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. You should do. But all she was trying to say is that this car is also very smart. So if you're not, if you don't need to be extremely like hyper vigilant, or you need to be careful, but the car is also helping you, she was trying to say. So we left, and then when we drove on a inner street road, there was a speed bump, the tiny one, thin one that I missed. But luckily I was driving very slowly. Again, slow speed saved me. I missed that bump, so we went over it with the same speed without me slowing down, but it wasn't a problem because it was easy. And the next one I saw right after there was another one, then I slowed down, then we went back, and then when we parked, she led me back to the station. By the way, before the station, we were on a country road again. So I'm on the right side. I need to go left. So I need to turn left. But before turning left, I need to cross the upcoming car's road. So I checked everything. No car was coming. I let all the cars go, and then I checked, okay, after this one I can go, but then another car approached, so I had to brake. I couldn't go. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna fail me here because I wasn't prepared enough. Why did I rush? There was a car coming, apparently, another car. So I braked there. But then I went forward without panicking. This is another tip. Don't judge yourself. Let the instructor judge you, because your task is to move forward. If you start compulsively thinking about the mistake that you made, that might not even be a mistake yet, you don't know, then you lose focus and you lose your attention, and you need to focus on the next adventure that is ahead of you, next obstacle, next things are happening. Don't become obsessed with the mistake that you just made. I'm like, okay, let's focus ahead. As soon as I crossed the upcoming car's road to go left, there was a pedestrian crossing. So I stopped there, a woman was crossing, and then I again started driving when I saw a bicyclist coming, even though bicyclists are not allowed to cross the pedestrian cross just like that. He needs to walk next to the bike and then walk in front of you. I stopped again, let the bicyclist go again. I'm like, okay, maybe I failed here because I should have seen the bicyclist as well coming. So before driving, I should have let the bicyclist go without me starting and stopping the car, because the idea is that we should not panic the pedestrians and bicyclists. So what if the bicyclist thought that I'm gonna drive now, and then he panicked and then there was an accident? Then I drove, we went to the parking lot, and then she looks at me and says, Narmina, congratulations. I'm like, really? I don't believe it. And she's like, what do you mean? You didn't expect? I said, I don't know, I was so nervous and everything, the driving nervousness. I added this driving nervousness so that she doesn't think that I'm usually a nervous driver. That it was only because of the test. She said, yeah, of course you passed, but if there are a few comments that I would like to give you. First of all, when you're exiting the highway, as I told you, that 110 kilometer highway, there, first you exit, then you slow down. What I did was a Georgian way. First I slowed down, and then I exited the highway. Then an incredibly disgusting insect came inside. Okay, leave me, please. Okay, you need to leave me right now. The balcony door is open, right? That's why. Okay. So that was a mistake, because when you slow down to 50 on a 110 road, cars behind you are slowing down as well. So you're slowing down the whole traffic. First exit, high speed, and then you slow down. Which is not a problem. I mean, you know when you fail the traffic driving test? When you create a dangerous situation. These were not dangerous situations. Everything that I mentioned that I thought were mistakes were not dangerous situations. And then before she started actually mentioning my mistakes, I said, I know where I made a mistake. And she was like, please tell me, maybe you know. And then I said, now when I was crossing, I panicked. I was indecisive. Am I letting this car go? And I'm not sure. No, that was okay, actually. But what I would say instead, you see that you need to let these cars pass before you enter their lane, and you also see there is an upcoming pedestrian crossing, person crossing, and the bicycling things are happening. So instead of going to the other lane of other cars and then waiting for the pedestrians cross, stay in your lane. Let the cars pass, let the pedestrian cross, let the bicyclist cross, then turn left. So I wait for everything in my lane, was the idea. Wow, that was all. So first try, I passed both theory test first try and the practice test, driving test first try. Just extra careful, calm driving, remembering everything my teacher said, unremembering and unlearning what I had learned in Georgia, because those things didn't work. In Georgia, you indicate first and then you check all of your mirrors and then you turn. But in Sweden, you check all of your mirrors and blind spot. We don't check blind spot in Georgia. Then you indicate, then you check again, and then you change the lane. That is Sweden. So unlearning things, learning things, just extra focused. Do whatever works for you. Maybe you don't want them to talk, because in my case I really liked her talking. She asked me how I was gonna go back to Stockholm. I said I'm gonna take the train. How I came to Skövde, train. Like, it was really nice talking. I could actually forget about the exam for a lot of times, I would say. It was really good. The total cost was 10,740 crowns. And if you add my travel to and from Skövde, it would be like around, and food and everything, 11-12K. But I know that a lot of people, when they start from scratch, they don't have any license from anywhere else, they're learning everything for the first time, then it could be 20-30K. So I think this was a good deal. And I was so happy that I didn't fail the driving test, because that would mean that I'm going there again, taking the lessons again, booking the driving test again. Like, all those things could have cost me even more. But that didn't happen. I was so excited. I got my card as well, like next week, I think, immediately. I wish you good luck. Let me know where you are in your process and what you're struggling with. I think I shared about all of my struggles, like which theory topics you are struggling with mostly, and which driving part, like is it changing lanes, or I don't know, parking. Yeah, I learned parking from Trafico's YouTube as well. Parallel parking, reverse parking, front parking, all of those things could be, you can just watch Trafico. They actually teach you what to check in which mirror to park. Let me know how it's going for you, and best of luck. Bye bye.